Tax is theft. No, it's not, it's a social contract we all sign at birth. I never signed any such contract, and no such contract exists. Yes, it does. No, it does not. Am I allowed to point a gun to your head and force you to pay me money, then I throw you a moldy sandwich and say, see, it's not theft, you get something in return? But the government doesn't do that. They provide roads, courts, police and every other public good. It's for the greater good. If you don't like taxes, then move to Somalia, they have no government there. We do not need taxes for roads, courts, police or any other public good. They can be provided by the free market. If there is a demand for something, people will pay for it. Somalia does have governments, they have many competing governments, so it is not anarchist. The companies would charge people $50 to travel on their roads. No, they would not. That is the quickest way to make everyone hate you. They would seek to not piss off their customers, and there are other ways than tolls to pay for roads, like getting local businesses to pay a private company to build and maintain those roads, since those shops use the roads. Every business would pay for the roads, you need not force them to do so. Okay, but we need courts, otherwise there would be injustice. There is already injustice under current any government. Under anarcho-capitalism you would be able to choose out of 20 well-known good courts and choose the one that suits you best, and the bad court companies would be out of business as people vote with their wallets. Okay, but we need a military. How are we going to stop foreign invaders? We do not need a military. If only 20 million people were armed in the USA, we would be nearly impossible to invade, not to mention we would have militias, private security, defense contractors, private militaries. Good luck invading if there is a gun behind every blade of grass. What about my welfare? Get a job, you lazy entitled bitch. So poor people should just die? Is that what you're saying, you Nazi, white supremacist, woman hater, sexist pig? Private charities can look after poor people and their immediate families would support them. Imagine how much money charities would get if people were not taxed to death. So we don't need government? No, we do not. All government is violence, force, and coercion. It is immoral and highly ineffective and wasteful. Anarcho-capitalism would bring the highest standards of living. Anyone who knows anything about basic economics would know this. Police are just extortion patrols that can prison you for having a plant. Under capitalism they would be privatized and would not be able to prison someone for a victimless crime. If there is no victim, there is no crime. You would be able to choose from dozens of private security companies for your home or your street, and if you're poor on that street, other people would probably pay for private security. So you would not have to. These private security would be held accountable to their customers and would not be able to imprison people for stupid things like plant possession. Private courts would be cheaper and far more effective since companies are competing for your dollars. If these companies are not fair and violate the NAP, they would go out of business. But police are held accountable through democracy. We can vote out bad politicians. The government is never held responsible for anything. To have the best services, businesses must compete for your money, not to outlaw it, with violence and coercion. All the government does is violate the non-aggression principle. All they do is force people to obey them at the point of a gun. Government is a criminal organization that has indoctrinated the people through public schools to convince people what they are doing is moral. Ethics does not change just because the government does it. The best way to remove the government is to simply educate people about capitalism, economics, freedom, and the non-aggression principle. If private schools started teaching this and we got this into public schools to be taught, within a generation or two the government would cease to exist. People would learn that things can be done without a coercive, violent government. I don't know if it would work though. It sounds like it's theoretical though. It is not theoretical, it's a fact that these things would happen. The only reason why people are against freedom is because they do not want personal responsibility. They rely on government to give them money, so why would these people want to slap away the hand that feeds them? The government has made millions dependent on government and can't survive without it. I hope you reconsider why you think we need government. Ask yourself, is there a way for X to be done without government? The answer you would find is yes, and if X cannot be done without government, then that means there is too little demand for it and thus we do not need it. If you are logically consistent, you will become an anarcho-capitalist.